The early line in full effect here on a Monday, and a lot of doings across the sports landscape over the past weekend here. Did you watch Major League Baseball? Did you have some fun with that? Absolutely. Did you watch some NFL action? You get some news and notes? Were you watching the PGA Tour? But if you weren't paying attention, the Cleveland Browns are trying to go over their quarterback room to see who can survive and be a starter in week number 1. We'll get to those odds in just a little bit. But preseason game number 1 for the Cleveland Browns, they dropped 30 points in that game, a 30-10 result over the Carolina Panthers, which the big hype of the day was Shedeur Sanders was going to get the start as a first-year quarterback and say, you know what? Let's see what you got there, Shedeur, in the backfield. Well, it was 14 of 23, a $138, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He had some missed throws. He had some very good throws. I thought he showed very good athletic ability, Joe, here on a couple of scrambles, 19 yards on the ground, but again, accumulated the 2 touchdowns, did not turn the football over with any interceptions. I liked what I saw from Shedeur Sanders in game number 1, week number 1 of the preseason here, Joe.
Yeah, and I thought his ability to be able to roll out, use his legs, extend plays, do those kinds of things. I mean, dare I say, Joe Flacco wasn't playing. We knew that. Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel have the hamstring injuries. This was a great opportunity for Shedeur Sanders, who was listed as the 4th-string quarterback on the depth chart. I don't think he's that anymore. That looked like a real NFL offense with a real NFL quarterback. The first time in a long time we can say that about the Cleveland Browns. It was a great effort by him for sure.
I got to tell you about this, too, because, again, looking at who's going to start and who's going to play on that football team, it seemed to be a fact that it's going to be Joe Flacco. He's listed as a minus 156 price here to be the starting quarterback in week number 1, followed by Kenny Pickett at plus 150, then Shedeur 13-1, and Dillon Gabriel at 14-1. But sometimes you look at an organization, Joe, because, you know, the evolution of when I'm a kid, like, oh, just put the best player out there and see what happens. Sometimes don't you have to do what's best for the franchise, but you can never trust a coach or a general manager. The only guy you can trust is the ownership group that would be calling the shots. Because what's Kevin Stefanski want to say? Like, if I go through a year with Shedeur Sanders and he struggles and we end up with 5 wins, I'm going to get fired. If I start Joe Flacco and have 7 or 8 wins and still playing meaningful football in December, I'm probably going to survive. You have to take that, you know, question, or let's just say answer, out of the coach's hands here and say, what's the best health for the franchise? Because for me, if I'm a fan, you know what I actually want to have happen? I don't want Joe Flacco starting week number 1. I don't want Kenny Pickett starting week number 1. Joe, I'd almost be happy if we had Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel and they go, this is a year to find out about our quarterbacks. We're going to rotate every single game, Joe. First game, Shedeur. Second game, Gabriel. Third game, Shedeur. Fourth game, Gabriel. Just find out what you have at quarterback, because Joe Flacco is not your future. If Joe Flacco gives you 8 wins, that's a terrible season for the Browns, because then you can't even go into the draft and get your future quarterback if you don't figure you have him now on your roster. Give me your opinion on what you saw out of Shedeur, and if he continues with this, why not just start him or Dillon Gabriel in week number 1?
Well, it's hilarious, Donnie, because we talked about it on Friday. I think one of the questions you asked me was, of course, Stephen A. Smith coming out with they're setting him up for failure, Shedeur Sanders. And our answer was, well, isn't that what the preseason is for, is to figure out what it is that you have in the locker room and in the quarterback room? I mean, listen, Joe Flacco is not going to show you anything more than what we already know he is. It's not like he's been away from the game forever. We already know what he is. He understands the playbook. He is the safe option. The whole point of the preseason is to figure out what else you have. Do you have another quarterback of the future there? And unfortunately, we didn't get to see Pickett or Gabriel, but if those hamstring injuries heal up and they're available for the game 2 and game 3 of the preseason, I guarantee you're going to see Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel get a whole lot of snaps. You let these things play themselves out on the field, Donnie, right? The play on the field will tell you everything you need to know about whether or not you have a quarterback of the future. I don't need to roll you out there just to roll you out there in the regular season. We've been doing it long enough where we can tell if you're going up against the backups of the Dolphins or whoever it may be, if you can't complete a pass, if you're blindsided by blitzes, chances are it's not going to get any better against the number 1s in week 1 of the regular season. So I think they're doing exactly what they need to do. I would rather not see Flacco in the preseason.
The goal for the Cleveland Browns, this should be the goal for any NFL franchise, is to win a Super Bowl. I can say right now, on August 11th, 2025, on the early line, Joe Flacco will never, ever win a Super Bowl for the Cleveland Browns. I can also say that Kenny Pickett will never win a Super Bowl for the Cleveland Browns. So what are we doing with the Cleveland Browns? Your goal this year is to find a quarterback. You drafted 2 of them last year. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders can ever win a Super Bowl championship with the Browns. We've never seen him in a regular season game. Same thing with Dillon Gabriel. Now, granted, it is hard to win a Super Bowl, understandably, but I know for a fact those veterans on your roster aren't doing it. So if you find out this year that maybe Shedeur Sanders, a little glimmer in the eye there, you know what? Won 5 to 6 ball games, made some, impactful moves late in the season. Can't wait to get him for a full all season and see what we can do as a franchise guy. Same thing with Dillon Gabriel. But the best part about this is you probably have a pretty good quarterback draft next year. If you enter into the season, play the young kids, and they stink, you have your choice of any quarterback that can be a franchise guy in the draft next year. Or if either one of these 2 quarterbacks show that they have the chops to be an NFL quarterback, maybe you don't have to go into it next year. But hey, you have a top 5 draft pick because you were bad, but you figure you have your quarterback, you pick another impactful player, and away you go in your franchise. I never understand the Band-Aid approach. Kenny Pickett and or starting Joe Flacco makes absolutely zero sense for the Cleveland Browns. And by the way, if we can pop up that graphic quickly on the odds, perfect. Came right up. Joe Flacco minus 156, Kenny Pickett minus 150, Shedeur 13-1, and Dillon Gabriel 14-1. Just a little background on that. Coming into the weekend before the start for Shedeur Sanders, Flacco was a minus 180. That dropped. Kenny Pickett was a plus 280. And that certainly sits there at a plus 150 now. And now Shedeur Sanders 13-1. And Gabriel was the biggest loser in this because he didn't get any action in this game. I find that interesting to see how it plays out.
It's going to be interesting to play out, but it's going to play out over the next couple of games. I mean, like it or not, the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league. You've got a coach in Stefanski here who understands if he doesn't win games, he is likely not going to be the coach moving forward. So if he feels that saving his behind is that Joe Flacco gives him the best chance to win games, then he's going to play Joe Flacco. The hope is that Pickett or Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, one of these guys gives Stefanski something to think about come week 1 of the season. If I'm a Browns fan, that's what I'm hoping for.
Exactly. You want hope for the future. That's all you can ask for in a quarterback to get behind. And Joe Flacco's not the quarterback to get behind. More rookie reports coming up next on the early line right here on the SportsGrid Network. The rookie report over the weekend here. A lot of eyes focused, particularly on the number 1 pick. And I should say this. Was there enough eyes focused on the number 1 pick, Cam Ward, playing his first preseason action? Usually when the number 1 pick comes in, he leads all telecasts. We want to get our glimpse on the shining bright toy that's going to come into the 2025 season. Shedeur Sanders, you would have thought, went number 1 overall with the excitement and also the tickets that were sold in Charlotte just to see the kid play. And by the way, Bryce Young, who is not a rookie anymore, did play decent on his 1 drive or 2 that they had for the Panthers, resulting in some points. But that wasn't even the focus. It was Shedeur Sanders. Coming into this weekend, Joe, do you agree? Like, Shedeur was the main focus out of the rookie class across the NFL?
Oh, well, of course. He was the focus of the draft, even in day, 3, when he was still on the board. I mean, it was all about Shedeur Sanders. So that was obviously going to roll over into the preseason to see if he makes the team. But, quietly, here's Cam Ward, the guy that actually, was the number 1 pick with Tennessee. And not a lot of people were talking about him. And quite honestly, Donnie, there wasn't a lot to talk about because it's not like they showed an awful lot with him. So, I mean, the numbers weren't over the top. They did a little more running. They did, he did, I think, go 11 plays, 65 yards, which was nice.
Yeah.
Him and Calvin Ridley had a nice series together. But for the most part, it wasn't jumping off the screen. But like, why are we not paying attention to Cam Ward? It was kind of vanilla.
5 of 8, 67 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, passer rating of an 89.1 here as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pounded the Titans 29-7. Get used to that probably as a final score. But he's got some weapons. He's got some wide receivers, got a couple running backs. We're expecting good things out of Cam Ward. Brandon Allen came in that game, 6 of 12. Tim Boyle still on NFL rosters, which is amazing here. Maybe Aaron Rodgers made a couple phone calls there. He was 4 of 13. But just interesting to watch Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, look fluid in the pocket. I do think he's going to have a pretty good season. Not indicate on how many wins the Titans are going to get, just how he looks in the pocket. That's all you should care about for the Titans. You take a look at Jaxson Dart for the Giants here. How about this? 12 of 19 for a $154 and a touchdown. He made some really good throws against the Buffalo Bills. I liked what I saw out of Jaxson Dart.
Donnie, this was by far the most impressive start of any of the rookies for any team this week. And I'll tell you why. It's because first you had Russell Wilson go out for like a series, and then we're like, all right, can we not watch him anymore? But the Buffalo Bills at home made the decision that their starters, both defensively and offensively, were going to play in the first half a lot. So these numbers you're seeing 12 and 19, a buck 54 and a touchdown, 24 yards on the ground with his legs. That was all against the starters against the Buffalo Bills defense. So unlike a lot of these other guys that were going up against backups, those numbers and that performance came against the starters of Buffalo on the road. That was pretty darn impressive watching him under center.
By the way, did you see the quarterbacks for the New York Giants? Russell Wilson, 6 of 7. Jameis Winston, 7 for 11 and a touchdown. Tommy DeVito, 10 of 14 and a touchdown. And Jaxson Dart, 12 of 19 and a touchdown here for the Giants. I have an over 3.5 team total at ESPN Bet, Joe, that I put in and grabbed that nice line. It's up to 5.5 now. I was really nervous. And again, it's one preseason game. I'm not going to overreact. Like, I hope Russell Wilson plays like all 17 games so I can at least get 4 wins. I was very, very happy seeing what I saw to Jaxson Dart. If they do pull the plug on Russell Wilson after 5 or 6 games, maybe he can pick up 2 wins the rest of the NFL season and pick up that 3.5, which is what I need. Rest of the guys across there, Tyler Shuck, 15 of 22, Joe, buck 65 and a touchdown, throws the 1 interception, comes back with a touchdown pass. Liked what I saw. I'm telling you, some of these rookie quarterbacks coming in well prepared here, Joe.
They were, but if we're being honest here, the honorable mention not on that list has to be the defensive end for the New York Giants, who was out there, I think, for 6 or 7 snaps. And you know what, Donnie? Carter was in the backfield and pressure in all 6 or 7 plays for the New York Giants defense in that game against the starting offensive lineman of the Buffalo Bills. So not only do they have maybe a possible future quarterback, they got an edge rusher that is going to wreak havoc on offenses this year.
And by the way, most people look and say, like, oh, no, Ashton Jeanty, 3 carries, -1 yards. He probably fell like a rock in the, the offensive year category. Not the case. We know he's going to be just fine. But he sits at the plus 250 price to win that. Cam Ward, 3-1 here. Hampton, plus 850. And away you go. And by the way, you take a look at Travis Hunter. 2 catches, 9 yards, 8 defensive snaps. He's not going to get a ton of work in the preseason, but both ways he's going.
Yep. And listen, how they use him is going to be most importantly, but I think it's going to be all about the offense before it's about the defense with him.
Absolutely. We'll see how it plays out. I'm telling you, he might have some big things on the horizon there on the offense for him down there in Jacksonville. We'll find out how Liam Cohen uses them and more. NFL highlights from this weekend and maybe some devastated injuries next. We're talking a little bit of that rookie report in the previous segment here. Joe Raineri and Donnie RightSide on the early line right here on the SportsGrid Network on a Monday, getting you ready for this week and saying, you know what, how can we get ready for this week without taking a look at the rookies over the past weekend? We know we didn't get to see a lot of last year. Rookie J.J. McCarthy, you still sort of consider him a rookie, right? Got a couple snaps in the preseason, goes down with the knee injury, rehabs it here. How will that start? Because Sam Darnold's no longer the starting quarterback in Minnesota. He was shipped off there to Seattle on a nice free agent contract. He's their starting quarterback, and now J.J. McCarthy can focus on being the starter in for the Vikings here. I thought he looked good. I liked him rolling out of the pocket. He looked athletic. The arm strength was there. Was it an electric start? 4 of 7 for 30 yards in his debut? No, it wasn't. But it's nice to see him out there being healthy and that good arm strength here. We don't know how it's going to project to the regular season. But again, a lot of these rookies were put in good spots here in their first starts in the preseason.
Yeah, listen, it wasn't bad by any means, right? His first showing. But at the same time, he was out there one series. I mean, 13 plays in that series, in fact, that ended up with a 48-yard field goal. But the longest completion was what, an 18-yarder to Jordan Addison that Addison had to actually dive for the ball and make the catch. I mean, again, wasn't bad, but I would like to see a little bit more from McCarthy before we anoint him the future of the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll see. And again, I want to knock the kid, too, because I know a lot of people are really high on him. Seeing it in college football, there is something to be said about being a great leader, which everybody from that Michigan program will tell you about. But there's also something about being an absolute gunslinger when your team needs it the most. We didn't get a ton of that at Michigan. Some of their biggest wins came on, let's play really hard defense and run the football. We'll see if J.J. McCarthy excels this year, technically, as a rookie for me in the NFL. We did have some other NFL weekend highlights here. How about Cam Little? A 70-yard field goal. It's just so, like the evolution of the athlete, Joe, right? It's like, hey, well, look at the NBA in the 60s and 70s. Yeah, well, the athletes that are so far superior. Same thing in the NFL. Track stars, people are running faster and faster every single year. the legs of the kickers might have to get analyzed. Don't you remember, Joe? And I'm talking about early 2000s. Whew, man, he's going for a 51-yarder right here. A 51-yarder is a chip shot now. Like, if you can't consistently nail 60-plus yarders in the NFL, it's like you can't even be out there. And now we have 70-yard field goals going through in the preseason. How about that?
And Donnie, call me crazy. It looked like it could have gone a few more yards, too, there. It wasn't as if they were all laying up. Like, they were actually going after the kicker on that 70-yarder, and he got all of it. It didn't look like he was straining to do it either, which was funny. But we saw 57-yarders with plenty of leg and distance this week. So the kicking... And again, that's all fine and dandy in preseason, but let's see what happens under the, the big lights here and elements. But for the most part, you got to be impressed with the kicking game so far in week 1 of the preseason.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was back in like 06 maybe, like a Matt Bryant kicking like a 58-yard or whatever, or 60-yard against the Philadelphia. I almost fell out of my chair with that victory. And now it's like, oh no, 62 yarders, he has a legitimate chance to make that now. It's unbelievable where
and
you used to see like a Tony Franklin, like, hey, exactly. Like a steel toe guy is kicking 60-yarders out here. Like, oh, he got lucky and wherever it was. But my goodness, man, the evolution of the kickers is insane. How about last night? The Philadelphia Eagles hosted a practice at Lincoln Financial Field, which was sold out last night. Hey, the Super Bowl champions, let's go watch them work out. Could be a devastating injury on the horizon that will probably get known today, Joe. Landon Dickerson carted off the practice field with a leg injury. Looks like it's a knee injury, and the MRIs are due this morning, and we'll probably get it back sooner than later. But this is one that the Philadelphia Eagles cannot afford to lose. Really, any NFL team losing really good offensive linemen in the preseason. You hate to see it, but it's already happened with Slater. Could it be happening with Dickerson now, the Eagles?
Yeah, and folks may not remember, too. This was a guy that played through a knee injury at the end of last season through the postseason. Yes. So he had an injury last year, played through it, was hoping the offseason it would heal itself and he'd be back in there. And another one of these just kind of freak situations, and at the end of practice, no less. I think they were almost ready to wrap it up, and unfortunately, here we go. Much like we saw Slater of the Chargers have a similar situation where it's like, you got to be kidding me. We're not even trying. This is a self-practice, and we're losing Pro Bowl guys on the offensive line.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You never want to see it because, again, injuries just don't stop. Oh, we already lost our offensive lineman for the year. Nobody else can get injured. That doesn't happen. That's not good for one of the power strengths of the Philadelphia Eagles is that offensive line, particularly the left side, which has Landon Dickerson and Jordan Mailata. It might be the best left side combination in the NFL. Maybe that's damaged goods already to start. How about James Cook? He's like, I'm not damaged goods. I get some workouts in, but I'm not playing yet. I want my money. And also, good to hear Josh Allen speaking up like, we need this guy back. So pay him what you owe him, as we like to say, Joe.
I love that he warmed up. He did, he was with his team. He did all of the things that you would expect a starting running back to do. Only he's like, I'm not playing. I can't run the risk. And at this point, he can't. But you know what? He's not being a distraction. He's going through everything with him. And now when your franchise quarterback says, can we get this, please, finished and wrapped up and get going? I think that's a big step in the right direction for Cook.
Exactly. And you don't really need running backs to carry the ball 15 times in the preseason. But you know what you do need? The same way where most teams now are starting to play starters more in the preseason. It's not about, hey, I need to get this big workout. It's about going through that game day preparation, having that mindset and the mentality that's sharp, going out, running around for 5 to 10 plays out here, getting a carry or two, getting a hit up the middle from a middle linebacker, like, okay, let's get my season underway. You're not going to get that out of the James Cook. You know as well as I do, Joe, that you need contact as a running back. Like, you can't show up in week number 1, like, okay, I'm going to end my holdout. Give me 20 touches in this game opening day in the 90-degree heat, which we get a lot of times in September. Get him in camp, get him practicing, get the vibes going, and good for Josh Allen sticking up for his guy in the backfield. We got a story that might be developing in Los Angeles here with their quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Over the offseason, Joe, I don't know if we had more love than any single team in the NFL, particularly in the NFC, to be honest, than the Los Angeles Rams. Got close last year, beat by the Philadelphia Eagles in the snow. Stafford coming back. He adds to the wide receiving core, an exciting, young, talented front seven. The roster is chock full of talent, a quarterback that's won a Super Bowl, a head coach that has won a Super Bowl. And now the quarterback's hitting like epidurals and like, Joe, that is never a good sign to start the season where you need needles just to keep going.
Yeah, and listen, but it's also not his first rodeo. He's had some back issues, neck issue. Like, he's had a lot going on, Matt Stafford, from all those years. He took an absolute beating in Detroit because they couldn't protect him. But the good news is, from what I am seeing, there's not a ton of concern that he won't be ready for the start of the season. What you have to worry about with him is longevity. Donnie, how many hits is he going to be able to take during the regular season before this becomes an issue? But I think they're going to treat him with kid gloves, which is what they should for a 37-year-old quarterback anyway.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he is a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
He'll be fine. He's got one of the best coaches in the NFL. As long as you can keep him upright, I think you're good to go. Much like any starting quarterback, right, Donnie? If he stays healthy, I love the Rams' opportunity and chances out of the NFC West. If he's not, much like any other starting quarterback, yeah, those chances diminish quite a thing. Although, what was it? Who's his backup? Stidham? Is that who it is?
Nope. Come on. Who else?
Oh, Joey. That's right. Yeah. Yeah,
Jimmy
Joey G. Yeah.
Look,
you're screwed,
look,
Rams.
Jimmy do
You're
damage.
screwed.
Come on now. I remember.
Sorry.
By the way, Jimmy Garoppolo could be a hero if he just connects. Was it Emmanuel Sanders? Who did he miss wide open down the middle of the field late in that game?
Yes, Emmanuel Sanders.
Man. He could be a hero right now. He could be a hero. So when you tell me you can't bet on Jimmy Garoppolo from your end, Joe? Come on now. That's not nice.
No. It's over if Garoppolo's your starting quarterback, Rams. So you better hope that back issue remains a non-factor for good old Matt Stafford.
Also, we need some insight what happened over the weekend, Tom, because we're taking notes right now, right? You don't get too much out of the preseason games other than never seen some of these rookies, want to pay attention to some rookie quarterbacks. And the biggest spotlight over the weekend certainly was Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns getting the start against the Carolina Panthers. They win that game 30-10, but Shedeur got a lot of looks in this one, Tom. 14 of 23, $138, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 106.8. His numbers now have dropped to be possibly the starter for the Cleveland Browns in week number 1. What did you take away from that Shedeur Sanders start against the Panthers?
More than just the 14 of 23. He was out there for, 45 or 46 plays, whatever it was overall. Yeah. High volume plays that they're willing to trust him with. And that float pass that he had on the near sideline where he kind of scrambled out of the pocket and then motioned to the receiver to get down and kind of led him, and the receiver made a nice catch, granted. Like, that is like a high-level, good quarterback play that you want to see. And, I would love to – I don't remember the Browns' schedule off the top of my head, but, if they have a bye week early in the season and they start off, again, like 1-4, get Joe Flacco out of there and just put him in there, start getting him reps, start developing him, and just start seeing what you have with him.
No, sooner rather than later, because let's face it, Tom, nobody wants to see Joe Flacco if they don't have to play football here. But it's interesting here because we saw a lot of other rookie quarterbacks show up and show out this week. I thought Jaxson Dart against the starters against the Bills was actually pretty impressive here. But, I mean, who has the season of seasons here? Who's your offensive rookie of the year looking at what we have seen thus far?
It's easy just to say Genty, and everyone's going to be like, like 3 carries, minus -1 yards, whatever. It's like, obviously, it's a small sample size. He's only in there for a drive or 2, whatever it is. We have to take that with a grain of salt. We know what Pete Carroll wants to do and run the ball. Frankly, I would be looking outside of that top group. Emeka Egbuka on the Bucs had a great first game. He also has a lot of buzz coming into the season. So someone like him is set for a big role. Amari Hampton on the Chargers could just see a ton of volume because, again, we know what Harbaugh likes to do and run the ball. Also, with their wide receiver room being, I'm going to say, shaky at best. Like, we know that Mike Williams retired. They have to re-sign Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnston isn't great. Lad McConkey's awesome. But at a certain point, if the volume of yards will be there for Hampton, I really like him in a little bit of a longer shot. Emeka Egbuka, I think he's going to be in for a big role with Chris Godwin out to start the year. And, Mike Evans is super consistent, but if that offense is going to be moving, they have one of the easiest strength of schedules. Baker's going to pass for 40 plus touchdowns and 4,000 yards. I think he's in for a huge year.
Yeah, McMillan had a couple pretty good shines there going up with Bryce this weekend on the Carolina Panthers. So a fun market for the rookies if you're looking
Yeah.
to bet that way. But Ashton Genty, I think we wanted to see 3 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown like he typically opened up at Boise State. But it's the NFL. You're not going to get that -1 yards. The kid will be just fine as he has the lead here at the +250 number before we even enter into week 1 of the NFL regular season.